Does this sound familiar? You're trying to stay sober, but everyone around you is still drinking like nothing's changed. Your friends still invite you to all the usual things, your partner still pours a drink at dinner, and the fact that they can drink without becoming a problem makes you feel like you're the only one who's different. Maybe you've quit drinking before, probably more than once. And this time, you don't even want to tell anyone. Because how do you explain again that you're not drinking without getting the side eye, the questions, or the comments like, didn't you say that last time? Your partner doesn't get it. Your kids might be old enough to notice, but not really old enough to understand. And your friends, they still bring the coolers and the wine to the annual summer trip, expecting you to show up like you always do. So you smile, you say, I'm good, but inside you're exhausted, trying to stay committed to yourself without feeling like the party pooper, the downer, or the one who always has a thing. And the worst part is no one sees how hard this actually is because you weren't getting falling down drunk. You didn't get a DUI. You never missed work. You were just quietly unraveling. Today, we're talking about how to stay sober in a world that doesn't know how much you're struggling, how to navigate drinking friends, family trips, the subtle pressures, and that emotional tightrope of trying to be honest without spilling your entire story. From setting boundaries to staying strong in social situations, we're tackling all of it. You don't have to hide, you don't have to isolate, and you definitely don't have to explain yourself to death. Let's talk about how to protect your peace and your sobriety. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Addiction Unlimited podcast, where you get to learn everything you want to know about addiction and recovery. I'm your host, Angela Pugh, co-founder of Kansas City Recovery, life coach, and recovering alcoholic. To learn more about me, you can listen to episode 0 on your podcast app or find us on the web at addictionunlimited.com. Hello, my friend. Welcome back to another episode of the Addiction Unlimited podcast. I'm your coach, Angela Pugh. Thank you for spending some time with me today listening to the pod. And if you're new here and a first-time listener, I'm so glad you found your way to our family. This podcast is all about helping high-functioning people break free from alcohol and build powerful, sober lives they love. Whether you're sober curious or starting over again or just looking for real talk and tools that actually work, you're 100% in the right place, and welcome. So glad to have you. We're digging into one of the most emotionally loaded and honestly most common questions I get from clients and listeners. How do I stay sober when everyone around me is still drinking? You've probably been here before. Family gatherings, summer trips, dinners with friends. They're pouring drinks like nothing's changed. But for you, everything has changed. And you want to feel strong in your decision, but you also don't want to make it weird or feel like the one who always has a thing. And if you've quit drinking before, you might be hesitant to tell people again. You're tired of the side eye and the didn't you do this before comments. This is where a lot of people get stuck, quietly struggling, smiling through it, and feeling completely unseen. You've quit before, you've told people before, and now you're trying to do it differently, more privately, but with just as much intention. So in this episode, we're going to cover 3 key things to help you feel strong, clear, and confident without having to over-explain your situation or isolate yourself to avoid explaining your situation. And because I know so many of you are listening while you're on a walk or a run or just living your life, I put everything we're talking about into a super practical freebie called the Sober Social Survival Guide. Try to say that 3 times fast. It's a cheat sheet with my 5 go-to boundary setting scripts, 3 exit strategies, and a quick checklist to help you emotionally prep for any event. Plus, I added a bonus sneak peek from my 90-day focus planner. It's a weekly overview page that helps you spot triggers ahead of time and map out your plan to protect your sobriety before the stress hits. So don't stress about remembering it all. Grab your free copy at addictionunlimited.com/survival, or just click that link in the show notes. It will be there for you. All right, let's get into this. Let's talk about what it really looks like to protect your peace and your sobriety when the people around you are still drinking. And we're going to start with the hardest piece for most of us, and that's boundaries. And if even hearing that word makes your stomach drop a little bit, you're not alone. For so many people I work with, boundaries feel scary. Not because we don't know what we need, but because we're afraid of what people will think when we say it out loud. We don't want to make things awkward. We don't want to seem dramatic or too much. And deep down, a lot of us are still battling that quiet little voice that says, who am I to set a boundary? Who am I to ask for something different? So instead of honoring ourselves, we default to what feels safer, and that's people pleasing, smiling, going along with things to avoid the discomfort. But here's the truth. Discomfort is where the growth happens. Early in my sobriety, I learned something that changed everything. If it felt incredibly uncomfortable, it meant I was doing it right. Because my comfort zone was drunk, avoiding, escaping, numbing. That was familiar and that was easy. So if I wanted to grow, really grow, I had to get uncomfortable. And boundary setting, that's a front row seat to that kind of growth. So yes, maybe your voice will be a little shaky the first time. Yes, maybe it'll feel a little bit awkward. And yes, you'll probably replay the conversation in your head 100 times afterward. But that is the evidence that you're moving in the right direction. That moment of discomfort is your doorway to strength. It's how you start building a new normal that isn't built around alcohol. You don't need to explain your entire history or convince anyone why you're doing this. A calm, clear boundary like, I'm not drinking right now, I'm just not feeling it. That's more than enough. Or if it's someone close to you, maybe you get a little bit deeper, still just one sentence, like, I've done a lot of thinking and I want to make some changes because I'm not feeling great. Short, clear, no justifying, just truth. Boundaries are a lifesaver in 1,000 ways. So now let's get into what to say when people question your choice, right? When they say, do you want to drink or why aren't you drinking? And before we even get into what to say when someone asks why you're not drinking, let's get one thing straight. You're probably blowing this way out of proportion in your head. And I say that with love because that's what we do, and I've done it too. So here's what I need you to know. Most people won't say a thing when you decline a drink. And if they do, it's usually super casual, not judgmental, not dramatic. There are two types of people that you'll encounter in these situations. First are the non-drinkers or light drinkers who honestly don't care. Alcohol just isn't on their radar like it is for you. They won't even notice you're not drinking. They could care less if you're drinking or not. They could care less if they're drinking or not. And then number two is the drinkers or over drinkers who are mainly focused on making sure they have a drink, not focused on what's in your glass. And sure, if you've had a party girl history with someone, they might make a comment, but honestly, it's rare. It feels so big in your mind, but in real life, most people are just trying to vibe and move on. You're not being judged. You're just feeling exposed. And that's because you're doing something brave. You're changing a pattern, and your brain is scanning for danger because that's what brains do when we step out of our comfort zone. So if someone does ask, here's your approach. Don't over-explain. Don't apologize. Keep it simple and confident, even if you don't feel confident yet. Try I'm not drinking tonight. Or I'm focused on some personal goals right now. I'm doing something different for myself right now. And if someone pushes, which again is rare, you can say, I don't really want to get into all the details right now, but thanks for understanding. I appreciate you. Remember, their curiosity or discomfort has nothing to do with you. It's about their relationship with alcohol, not yours. And if you want the full list of these boundary scripts to keep in your back pocket, get that Sober Social Survival Guide, addictionunlimited.com/survival, because I have all this stuff in there and more. The next thing I want to talk about is emotional prep, because cravings, anxiety, and resentment don't just show up randomly. They show up when we walk into situations without a plan, or we've spent the whole week depleted and on edge. Most of us head into social events just hoping it'll be fine, but hoping is not a strategy. And we usually think about triggers like they happen in the moment. Someone offers you a drink or you see a bottle of wine and boom, you're triggered and there's a craving. But the truth is, triggers creep in when your emotional energy is already drained. If you've had a long week at work, you're going to be more easily triggered. If you've just had dinner with family who are almost always triggering for one reason or another, then you're emotionally worn down. That's when you're vulnerable. That's when your brain says you deserve a drink, or your brain just wants to check out for a minute. It wants relief. You can be doing everything right, having no alcohol in the house, using your script, journaling, meditating. You can be doing everything right and still get sideswiped if you don't make emotional deposits. This is something I go deep into in episode 75. Are you depositing in your sober bank? Think of your sobriety like a real bank account. In early sobriety, that account is empty. You haven't made many deposits yet. So when life makes withdrawals, stress, family drama, work pressure, you're overdrawn fast. And here's the mistake we make. We'll put in a little bit and we'll feel pretty good. Then we start withdrawing again. We skip meetings. We spend time with people who drink. We say yes to things that drain us. And suddenly you're right back in the red, overdrawn again. Your recovery is a reflection of how often you're depositing in your sober bank. And the interest you accrue, that's what builds emotional resilience. You hear me say this a lot. Life is constantly making withdrawals from your energy and your sanity. If you don't make deposits to replenish, then you're running on a zero balance. Anger at your spouse, a rough morning with kids, discord with a sibling, a coworker that pisses you off, traffic, politics, money. These are all normal, everyday things, and they're draining every last penny out of your emotional bank. You have to take the time to make deposits, or you won't stand a chance at building the life you really deserve. And if this concept clicks for you, go back and listen to episode 75 after this one. It's foundational, and I'll link it in the show notes. You'll need to listen on the website since podcast apps only keep so many back episodes, but it's there for you, and I will link it. And if you ever want to browse old episodes, the website is the best place to do that. That's where every episode lives, at addictionunlimited.com. So this is where we need to think beyond just emotional prep and start focusing on emotional restore, right? Every big emotional withdrawal in your life has to be balanced with a deposit. Otherwise, you're living emotionally bankrupt, and that's when cravings feel unmanageable. When you are drained emotionally, your energy is drained, you are vulnerable. If you don't want to be vulnerable and be fighting all the time, then make some deposits. So what counts as a deposit? All the things we talk about all the time: meditation, walking, journaling, laughing with someone who gets you, listening to a podcast like this one, even just quiet time alone, reading a book, engaging in one of your hobbies. These aren't things that are just nice to have. These are essential tools for emotional sobriety. So as a part of your weekly planning, start asking, like, what's draining me this week, and where can I build in space to refill my cup? That's why one of the tools I use with my clients and in my own life is a simple weekly overview. Before the week starts, you look ahead and ask, like, what's coming up that might feel triggering? Who will I be around? What's the vibe of the event? Or how do I want to feel when I leave? Then you ask, like, what do I need to do to protect my sobriety? And that might be driving yourself or having a sober friend you're texting throughout the event, rehearsing those boundary scripts that I talked about, planning a treat for afterward, right? A reward for yourself, giving yourself, this is the most important one, giving yourself permission to skip it if it's not necessary and it's not worth the energy withdrawal. Give yourself permission to skip it. When you emotionally prep ahead of time, then you show up grounded instead of reactive, and you're much less likely to spiral into cravings or shame afterward. This is why I created my 90-day focus planner. It's not just a journal or a tracker, it's a full system to help you map out what you want to achieve in your sobriety and break it down into bite-sized, followable pieces so it's actually doable. And one of the most powerful tools inside my system is the weekly overview. That page helps you look ahead at your week, spot upcoming events that could be triggering, and make a clear plan to protect your peace, protect your sobriety before the stress ever hits. Because the truth is, awareness before it happens is everything. If you're always reacting, then you're always one step behind your cravings. But when you plan ahead, you stay grounded and in control. And as an added bonus, I'm including the weekly overview page inside the Sober Social Survival Guide. You'll get a sneak peek into the planner system and a tool that you can use over and over again to prep for social events, family stuff, even tough weeks at work. It just takes 5 minutes and it can change your whole week. So if you've ever felt like the only sober person in the room, like you're walking into social events, holding your breath, hoping no one notices or asks questions, I want you to know you're not alone and you're not doing it wrong. This journey is hard because it requires you to grow beyond your old comfort zone. And that means discomfort is part of the process. Now, remember, keep this right-sized also. Nobody dies from being uncomfortable. You have so much more strength than you give yourself credit for. We can all get through uncomfortable. It really is not that big of a deal. And it typically lasts a way shorter amount of time than you think it will. But that discomfort is real, especially when you're surrounded by people who still drink. It can feel isolating and awkward and emotionally exhausting. But today we talked about how to change that, right? You learned how to set boundaries without guilt, even if you've tried before and felt like you failed. You got simple, confident scripts to help you respond when people ask why you're not drinking. And most importantly, you learned how to prepare and restore your emotional energy so you're not walking into these moments depleted and vulnerable. You're building a new life, and that means creating new strategies. And I'm here to help every step of the way. And if you're ready to get serious about crushing your sobriety and building a life that actually feels good to live, let's talk. I have 2 coaching spots open right now. And the first step is easy. Just book a call with me at addictionunlimited.com/call. We'll chat. We typically laugh a lot, gather some info, and figure out what the next best step looks like for you. And if you've been thinking about working with me for a long time, don't overthink it. Just schedule the call and let's see if we're a good fit. addictionunlimited.com/call. You don't have to have it all figured out. That's what you have me for. And of course, that link is always in the show notes, along with the link for the Sober Social Survival Guide that includes my weekly overview page from my 90-day focus planner. I will also link my 90-day focus planner. It is officially out and ready to be purchased. And I will link to episode number 75, Are You Depositing in Your Sober Bank? So you can go back and listen to that one too. I love you guys. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I will see you next week.
You've reached the end of another great episode of the Addiction Unlimited podcast. Candid and honest conversation about addiction and recovery. Be sure to visit us at addictionunlimited.com to join the conversation and access show notes and links to everything we talked about. Love this episode? Please take 30 seconds to subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes to help us improve and give you the information you want. Thanks for listening. See you next week.